The Problem Book by Prophet W. D. Farad, finder of the lost nation of Asia. 34 Problems to Solve. This book teaches the lost found nation of Islam a thorough knowledge of our miserable state and condition in a mathematical way when we were found by our Savior, W. D. Farad. 1. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lived in the wilderness of North America, and he lived other than his own self. Therefore, his pulse beat 78 times per minute, and this killed him in 45 years of age. How many times did his pulse beat in 45 years? 2. The wife of Mr. W. D. Farad's uncle, in the wilderness of North America, weighs other than herself, therefore, she has rheumatism, headaches, pain in all joints, and cannot walk up to the store. She is troubled frequently with high blood pressure and registers more than 32. Her pulse is nearly 80 times per minute, and she died at the age of 47. How many times did her pulse beat in 47 years? 3. A sheep contains 14 square feet. 1/10 of a square inch contains 10,000 hairs. How many will the 14 square feet contain? 4. 1/100th of a cubic inch contains 200 million atoms. How many will 50 square miles contain? 5. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lives in the wilderness of North America, and he is living other than himself, therefore he weighs more than his height and his blood pressure registers more than 32. This killed him at the age of 44 years. The average person breathes 3 cubic feet of air per hour, but the uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad breathes 3 7/10 of a cubic foot per hour. How many cubic feet of air did Mr. W. D. Farad's uncle breathe in 44 years? How many atoms does he breathe in all of his 44 years when 1/100th of a cubic inch contains 200 million atoms? 6. The second uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad, in the wilderness of North America, lived other than himself and, therefore, his blood pressure registered over 32. He had fever, headaches, chills, grip, hay fever, regular fever, rheumatism, also pain in all joints. He was disturbed with foot ailments and toothaches. His pulse beat more than 88 times per minute, therefore, he goes to the doctor every day and gets medicine for every day in the year. 1 after each meal and 3 times a day. Also, 1 at bedtime. The average person breathes 3 cubic feet of air per hour, but the second uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad breathed 4 1/2 cubic feet of air per hour. 500 pills equal 1 pound, so that kills him at the age of 46. How many pounds of pills did Mr. W. D. Farad's uncle use in 46 years? How many cubic feet of air did he breathe in 46 years? If the air value selling price, then the third uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad would have been robbed of the atmosphere. How much air did he breathe more than the average man? Each cubic foot of air costs $10.50. How much does Mr. W. D. Farad's second uncle rob in 46 years? 20 pills cost 25 cents. How much does this amount to in 46 years? Once a week, he gives the doctor $2.50 for renewing the prescription. And 52 weeks equals 1 year. So Mr. Muhammad wants to know how much money was spent for the pills and how much for the doctor. $15.50 for the person who works this problem. Qualified members only. 7. If 1/100th of a cubic inch contains 200 million atoms, the total atmosphere weighs 11 2/3 quintillion pounds. 1/3 of 11 2/3 quintillion pounds equal atoms. Mr. Muhammad cracked 1 atom into 10 million parts. Then Mr. Sharif wants to know how much the 1/3 of a cracked atom weighs. 8. For quintillion pounds equal the total amount of atoms. 1/100th of a square inch equals 200 million atoms. Extract the cube root of 3/4 of a cracked atom. A cracked atom equals 1/10,000 of 1. Mr. D. W. Shah wants to know what will be the weight of the cracked atom. $100 in gold. For the person who works this problem. Qualified Muslims. 9. The population of Detroit is 1,500,000 people, and there are 250,000 original nation. During these hard times for the lack of jobs, not having enough money to buy food, they eat 2 meals per day. Suppose the average person eats 4 ounces of bread, 10 1/5 ounces of poison animal, 3 1/3 ounces of rice, 4 1/8 ounces of other meal helper. It is known to the medical profession and otherwise Muslim sons that poison animal sounds the mental power, 1/60th of an ounce per every 10 ounces of poison animal. If the average person contains 7 1/2 ounces of brain, then Mr. Muhammad wants to know how long will it take to sound the 7 1/2 ounces at the above eating rates? The average person can be robbed successfully with 1/3 of unsound brain. Then how long will a devil have to wait to rob of Sid, the poison animal eater, at the above rates? It is also known to the civilized world that 10 ounces of the poison animal destroys 3/100% of the beauty appearance of a person. Then Mr. Muhammad wants to know how long will it take to destroy the whole 100% of the beauty appearance at the above eating rates? Any student in the University of Islam will be rewarded by the Minister of Islam, so get busy and submit your answer to your teacher at once. The reward and prizes are awaiting the best winner. Prize number 1, $100. Prize number 2, $50. Prize number 3, $25. Reward number 1A, large Quran Sharif. Reward number 2A, home Quran Sharif. Reward number 3A, pocket Quran Sharif. 10. Lake Erie is 9,960 square miles and the average depth is 1,960 feet. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lives near this lake in the city of Detroit, therefore, he uses the water from this caveman's lake for all household purposes. A certain cavey told him not to use too much water if you can help it, so he only uses 40 gallons per day. But the second uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad, who has civilized the cavey when he used to live on the treetop and dug holes along the hillsides for nearly 2,000 years, the exact time will be 4000 BC. So this same cavey cannot fool the second uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad. And now he is using 200 gallons of water per day. Then how long will it take the first and second uncle to empty the lake using water at the above rates? 1 cubic foot of water weighs 62 1/2 pounds. A certain teacher in the University of Islam, settlement number 2, wants to know how many ounces of water is in Lake Erie. 16 ounces equal 1 pound. How many cubic inches is in Lake Erie? 1,728 cubic inches equals 1 cubic foot. 11. The Suez Canal in Egypt is 99 miles long, with a depth of 33 feet and width of 122 feet. The cost to build it 64 years ago was $150 million. Mr. A. Ali has $500 worth of stock in it at the rate of 6 3/5%. Now he wants to know how much money he is coming to him at the above rate from 1869 to May 26, 1933. How many ounces of water is in the canal? How many cubic inches is in the canal? 1,728 cubic inches equals 1 cubic foot. 1 cubic foot equals 62 1/2 pounds of water. The Nile River, the longest river on the planet, is 4,690 miles long and 1 3/8 miles wide. How many square miles in the Nile River? How many square inches is the Nile River? Each student must submit answers to their teacher at once for grading and future reference. Devil names shall not be given credit. 12. The area of our planet is 196,940,000 square miles, and she weighs 6 sextillion tons. Mr. Shah wants to know how much does the state of Michigan weigh? Going by the Book of Cave Out of Darkness saying that the state of Michigan is 57,980 square miles and has a population of 4,842,280 people. 1 cubic foot of common earth weighs 80 pounds. 1 common cavey weighs 170 pounds. The average original weighs 150 pounds, and there are 500,000 original nations living in the state of Michigan, approximately 8 million livestock of all kinds. The average one weighs 659 pounds, and the construction of human all other than the level surface of the earth is approximately 150 billion tons. So then, how much does the state of Michigan weigh? How much does the livestock weigh? How much does the common weigh? How much does the original nation weigh? How much does the total weights of all weigh? Reward will be considered to the best and neatest worker of this problem. Hurry and lose no more time. Submit your answer to your teacher at once. Don't tell her that there was no one to teach for 377 years. She already knows and is trying to forget it. Now she will teach you quickly any course you may desire. 13. After learning mathematics, which is Islam, and Islam is mathematics, it stands true. You can always prove it at no limit of time. Then you must learn to use it and secure some benefit while you are living, that is luxury, money, good homes, friendship in all walks of life. Sit yourself in heaven at once. That is the greatest desire of your brother and teachers. Now you must speak the language so you can use your mathematical theology in the proper term, otherwise you will not be successful unless you do speak well, for she knows all about you. The Secretary of Islam offers a reward to the best and neatest worker of this problem. There are 26 letters in the language, and if a student learns one letter per day, then how long will it take him to learn the 26 letters? There are 10 numbers in the mathematic language. Then how long will it take a student to learn the whole 10 numbers at the above rate? The average man speaks 400 words, considered well. 14. The University of Al-Azhar, in Cairo, has a student population of 3,600. All but 1/10 taking other than his own language, 3/10 taking construction engineering, 2/10 taking civil engineering, 3/10 taking mechanical engineering, and the rest taking teachership. 1/185th of one had more than 8 absent charges to their credit. So at the end of their courses, they did not receive diplomas. How many were there in number that did not take other than his own language? How many were construction engineers? How many were civil engineers? How many were mechanical engineers? How many were teachers? How many were in number that did not receive diplomas? The law of Islam prescribes that a student shall not be given a diploma if he has 8 or more absent charges to this account. 15. The planet Earth has a population of 4,800 million people. 4,400 million are the original nation and 400 million are the Caucasian civilization. They have been found absolutely disagreeable to live with in peace, so the originator decides to remove them from the planet. Suppose the holy war be declared tomorrow. What would be the exact number of persons of each Caucasian against the original? 16. Our Earth travels 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, and she travels around the Sun in 365 1/4 days. How many miles does it take to travel in 365 1/4 days? 17. Mars, the inhabited planet, is 140,500,000 miles from the Sun, and she travels 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. Her diameter is 4,200 miles. Then Mr. Ali wants to know how many days will it take Mars to make one complete circumference around the Sun? 18. Mercury is also an inhabited planet and is 36 million miles from the Sun. Her diameter is 3,000 miles. She travels at the same rate, 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. How many miles does Mercury cover in making one complete circle around the Sun? What will be the number of days in the Mercurian year? 19. Venus is 67,200,000 miles from the Sun, and she makes one complete circle around the Sun in 225 days, which is considered the Venusian common year. All planets travel approximately the same rate, 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. How many miles does Venus travel in 225 days? What is her area in square miles since her diameter equals 7,000 miles? 20. Jupiter is 483 million miles from the Sun. She takes 11 years and 9 months to make one complete circle around the Sun. Its diameter is 88,700 miles. What is the area in square miles, and how far is she from the Earth? Also, tell how many miles Jupiter travels in one common Jupiterian years. 21. Saturn is 886 million miles from the Sun. It takes her 90.5 years to make one complete circle around the Sun. Saturn also travels at the same rate, 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. How many miles does Saturn travel in 29.5 years, which is considered a common year of Saturnus? Its diameter is 75,100 miles. Therefore, Mr. Muhammad wants to know what is the area in square miles of said Saturn. 22. Uranus is 1,782 million miles from the Sun, and it takes her 84 years to make one complete circle around the Sun. Her diameter is 30,900 miles. How far is Uranus from the Earth? How many miles does she travel in 84 years at the rate of 1,037 1/3 miles per hour? What is her area in square yards? 23. Neptune is 2,793 million miles from the Sun. She travels around the Sun in 165 years. Her diameter is 33,000 miles. What is her area in square miles? How many miles does she travel in 165 years at the rate of 1,037 1/3 miles per hour? How far is she from the Earth? 24. Plutone is 4,600 million miles from the Sun, and she travels the same rate around the Sun as the rest of the planets. It takes her 345 years to make one complete circle around the Sun. Her diameter is 67,000 miles. Find out the square mileage and number of miles she travels in 345 years. All of these are absolute facts, and they stand true, figure for figure, by the study of the Son of Man and not a spook. W.D. Farad. 25. The Public Library of Cairo contains 3,700,000 books, of which 60,000 treat exclusively of mathematics, astronomy, language, and other sciences of life. Mr. Moses brought one book of each kind to civilize the devil 4000 BC. Now Mr. Sharif wants to know from every one of you students to tell him, how much knowledge does the devil possess, comparing him with knowledge of the original man when he only had one book, while the original had 59,999. What would be the weight of knowledge in ratio proportion form of original against the devil? What is the physical standard of a devil against the original? How many ounces of brain does an original have? What is the exact percentage of trigonometry does the devil use at the present civilization? How long has the devil been on the planet using trigonometry? Tell us how and who manufactured the devil. All students must hurry and submit your answer to your teacher, and the reward is waiting for the best and neatest worker of this problem. Best winner, $15. Second best winner, $10. Third best winner, $5. 26. The total atoms equal 10 quinvigintillion. How many atoms are there in North America? 27. The universe diameter equals 76 quintillion miles. What is the area in square miles? And in square yards? Give your answer in figures only. $100 will be paid to the one who solves this problem correctly. 28. The Nile River is the longest on the planet. Suppose you calculate right to the 1/100th of an inch. And let your teacher have the answer before the 1st of the month so you can be put on the list of honor, right alongside of your own title, which is unlimited in the eyes of any KV. Tell us how many states of the United States of North America can be sat right inside in the area of the Nile River. The rest can be put in the Congo River, whose area equals 2,369.5 miles. How much would you have left after putting all the states in? Germany equals 55,000 square miles. England equals 45,000 square miles, and the rest of the caves, hillsides, and mountains equal 21,000 square miles. Would you have enough leftover rivers area to place in all of said, none other than the above mentioned? $10 will be paid to the best and neatest worker of this problem. 29. The light travels 186,000 miles per second. How long will it take it from the Sun to strike the Earth? How long will it take to strike planet Neptune? 30. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lives in the wilderness of North America, surrounded and robbed completely by the caveman. Therefore, he has no knowledge of his own nor anyone else's, but his mind travels 24 billion miles per second, which is considered the average speed of thought per second. How many round trips will he make in 10 seconds to the far planet Platoon? 31. A lion in a cage walks back and forth, 60 feet per minute, seeking a way out of the cage. It took nearly 4 centuries to find the door. Now, with modern equipment, he is walking 3,000 feet per minute and he has 3,000 miles by 2,000 miles to go yet. How long will it take him to cover this territory of said 3,000 by 2,000 miles at the above walking rate? 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. He also has 17 million keys, which he turns at the rate of 16 and 17/100ths per minute. How long will it take him to turn the whole 17 million? 60 minutes equal 1 hour. 24 hours equal 1 day. 365 days equal 1 year. The above figure do not include rusty locks. It has been said by the laborers of Islam, for allowing extra time to oil the rusty locks is insufficient. $10 reward will be paid to the neatest and best worker of this problem. Hurry and submit your answer to your teacher and tell her how much you do not understand, so she can teach you quickly. We, the Nation of Islam, lose no time. Ask questions and learn all about yourself. What are you doing, today, for yourself? Your brother from the East wants to know and hear from you at once. 32. 12 leaders of Islam from all over the planet have conferred in the root of civilization concerning the lost-found nation of Islam must return to their original land. One of the conference members by the name of Mr. Osman Sharif said to the 11 members of the conference, the lost-found nation of Islam will not return to their original land unless they, first, have a thorough knowledge of their own. So they sent a messenger to them of their own. Now, the messenger and his laborers worked day and night for the last 3.5 years, and their accomplishments are approximately 25,000. The messenger and his laborers are worried, for the time of laboring is mentioned and limited and said, problem number 31. One of the prophets in the early days said, the lost-found nation of Islam, numbering 144,000, will be stars, and will return to their original land. And the balance, he said, are poison and rusty, and will not take the knowledge on their own. But the messenger and his laborers do not agree with the old prophet in this modern time. He thinks that he will remove all poison and rust from every one of the 17 million. At the same time, he desires for every one of you, students, to help solve this problem since you have learned the time, accomplishment, and old prophet's number, 144,000. What would be the daily average of accomplishment judging from weekly converts? What do we mean when we say, poison and rusty? What is the percentage of poison and rusty? Describe whom and with what profession are the most poisonous and rustiest. What means and methods shall be used to remove poison and rust from, of said, the worst one? B. Number 1. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lives in the wilderness of North America. He is working 16 hours out of 24 hours for very little pay. He has 8 in his family to support, besides other little bills to meet each month. On top of that, a caveman came along and sold him an old touring car, which travels downhill at the rate of 48 miles per hour. If it is to be shown by actual test that a force of 250 pounds is required to maintain this rate of downhill speed, what horsepower must the engine deliver at the wheels? 33,000 pounds equal 1 horsepower. 33. Lake Michigan is 309 1/3 miles long, 69 1/2 miles wide, and she has a depth of 868 1/4 feet. What would be the square mileage of this caveman's lake? Reduced to square yards and inches. 1,728 cubic inches equal 1 cubic foot. 1 gallon of water contains 231 cubic inches. 1 cubic foot of water contains 7.5 gallons. 1,728 cubic inches of water weigh 62.5 pounds. Mr. E. Muhammad wants to know if 13 ducks, 6 drink 1 ounce per day and 7 drink 3/4 ounces per day, how long will it take them to dry the caveman's lake? What would be the total weight of water in this caveman's lake? Extract the cube root of the total amount of water after having all dried by the 13 ducks. At once, send your answer to the Secretary of Islam, No. 1 Michigan, Educational Department, and receive a reward of $10. 34. The uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad lives in the wilderness of North America and works 16 hours out of 24 every day for a very little pay. He has a large family to support, and on top of that, a Satan came along and sold him life insurance and gave him a written guarantee that he will receive a full benefit at once on after approval of his death. Another Satan came along and sold him 500 B shares at 6% in the Panama Canal at $1.75 per share. The Panama Canal was completed in 1914 at a cost of $375 million. Mostly the bigger part of the sum belongs to the shareholders, whom we call the 85%. The Panama Canal is 50½ miles long, 300 feet wide, and has a depth of 45 feet. What would be the amount of water in weight in gallons belonging to the uncle of Mr. W. D. Farad, since there was 9,957 shareholders, not including the 15%? It has been learned that the 85% could only receive correctly weight and measure in figures by any mathematician. What price was paid per gallon today, including and compounding interest annually for said 20 years, at 6%? 1,728 cubic inches equal 1 cubic foot. 16 ounces equal 1 pound. 1 gallon contains 231 cubic inches. 1 cubic foot contains 7½ gallons. 1,728 cubic inches weigh 62½ pounds. $10 reward will be paid to any student in the University of Islam for solving this problem correctly. Hurry and submit your answers to your teacher.